Welcome to Relax Time Radio, broadcast nightly from 7:30 to 9 p.m. on Radio Thailand, Chiang Mai.
Hey, welcome to Relax Time Radio.
Good
On a
evening.
Friday, you're here with me, Paul, and
Man.
And this is our second show together, and we've just been sort of like working out what topics we're going to cover. Because I used to do a show. Well, Tom did the show for ages, and he was covering ASEAN, which is he's qualified to cover. We decided we were more qualified to. I'm going to switch the video pane just a second.
Yeah. I think so. What Paul was about to say, we're more qualified to talk about entrepreneurship and traveling and social impact.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I'm not particularly qualified to talk about entrepreneurship. I've started lots of things. I've never made any money. Does that still count?
Yeah. You know how many entrepreneurs are just faking it?
Fake it till you make it. I did guess that would be the case. There you go.
We're not one of those, though, aren't we?
No. So what are we going to talk about on the show today? Yeah, like you said, our new sort of, we're going to introduce our new topic, aren't we?
That's
Which
right.
is, as you said, like entrepreneurship, travel, social impact,
Yeah.
these kind of things.
And I think it's really interesting, hopefully, for everyone out there to hear how we got into these three
Right.
different areas.
Well, and also, I guess it's part of what's sort of like flung us around the world. I know you travel more than me, but
This is not a competition.
No.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
We can make one if you want.
No, that's okay.
My goal is to actually visit all the countries in the world, plus the unregistered regions too.
Right. Oh, well, so anywhere that might be autonomous.
Yeah,
Okay, great. I guess that could never end.
that's right. And my plan is to be done by 75, because then my plan is maybe after that I one day break my neck breakdancing. So
Oh, wow. You've thought it all out.
I totally planned that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So,
cliff diving.
oh, great. I like it.
It's a fast death, I guess. I hope.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. A rush of adrenaline before you go out. Yeah,
You're
nice.
right.
Okay, so apart from what we're, our life plans and death plans, we're also going to be playing some, Friday music, which is charts-based music.
Yes.
The only song I think I'm repeating from last week is Biba Doobie.
Yay, good.
Biba Doobie, because that was so much fun. So
Yes.
the Biba Doobie's coming up again.
I played it at Chai Lai and everyone loved it.
Yeah.
They were first looking at me like, are you okay? And then everyone was like, oh, actually, it's really cool.
It was cool. I'm just going to play the same song. I didn't check out what else she's got. I'm sure she's got other
Good.
great songs as well.
No, we love that one.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we will play a little bit music just to warm up the night, and then come back and get into our conversation.
Yes.
So if you have any questions for us about the topic we're going to be talking about tonight, you can send them in to Relax Time Radio's Facebook page. We are also live streaming on YouTube right now. You can find the Relax Time Radio 93.25 FM YouTube live stream. I guess I'll try and post that into the Facebook page as well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different URL each time. That's right, a unique video URL. So I'll try and paste that on the Facebook page. And you can also call in. Do you have the number over there anywhere?
No.
It used to be written on the wall. Okay.
I mean, you can call me, but don't ask me how.
I think the phone will just ring and you just pick it up like a phone.
Sure, but I don't know the number.
All right. Okay. Well, I know the number. 053-276-793. If you'd like to call in with a song request or a question, you're welcome to do that. So let's just open things up with a song by Half Moon Run called Favorite Boy.
Mm.
Okay. We'll be, and I guess we'll be back, in a few minutes. So enjoy the music.
Well, I heard you've got that show tonight. Don't you know that I wanna be there? But I gave my name to the girl at the door when you knew that it wasn't there. Now I know I am not your favorite boy. I can see it in the way you fake your smile. At least you could say I was good to you. At least you could say I tried. Alright. And I know how it feels to look at you. Know you've got a lot of eyes. And you look so good in that summer dress against the color of the sky. And I don't know how it started. Don't know what to believe. Head on my shoulder, with the ringing in my ears. Now here we are in the red moonlight glow. Ooh, just waiting on a feeling. And I know I'm not the only one that stopped believing. Now I'm floating a million miles away, just floating on a breeze. I see you in my nightmares, and I see you in my dreams. And I don't know how it started, don't know what to believe. Your head upon my shoulder, with a ringing in my ears.
Extraterrestrial beings probably sitting tight, waiting to blow our brains away. Through the Milky Way, past the morning sun, Pluto is light years away, and all our worries, they're all gone. So quit being so negative. It's fine, it's only a temporary fix. You say I don't write happy songs, so I guess this is the first one. Through the Milky Way, past the morning sun, Pluto is light years away, and all our worries, they're all gone.
You've been listening to Relax Time Radio on Radio Thailand Chiang Mai.
Watch our live stream on YouTube and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Hey, we're back. So
Yeah.
that was Bee Ba Doo Bee again with Space Cadet.
This is gonna be our favorite.
It is already my favorite.
We should
I could listen to
make it
that
like
forever.
the one hit song of our show.
We could like make a video. Oh,
Oh.
someone's calling up.
That's yours.
Yeah. Do you hear it over there?
No, wait.
I think we're allowed to answer now. I'll try and answer.
Oh wait.
Hello, Relax Time Radio. Hello, Cap. Sorry, say again. Hello, Cap. No, sorry, wrong number. That was the wrong number.
Damn it.
I've never answered a phone live on air before, which previously, we weren't doing. Now we can, and the
Yeah.
first time we do it, it's the wrong number. You know what he wanted? I think he wanted the traffic police.
Oh, well, I mean, if he
On- on-
would ask to deliver pizza, I would take it.
Well,
you
unless
know,
it was because he said Gantaran, so it was something to do with traffic that he wanted. Anyhow.
but no traffic in here for now.
No, where were we?
Entrepreneurship, travel, and social impact. How did you get into it?
How did I get into it? Well, let me think. The travel and I guess the entrepreneurship thing like kind of go hand in hand, because when you're away from well, basically for me what happened was I just decided to leave England very young and deliberately not start any career there.
Yeah.
And then I had to improvise, which I guess mainly it was just sort of making websites for people, because I'd done one like very early. I guess I made a website back in, I don't know when it would be, like 1993 or something, for my mom's like bed and breakfast.
That was like the start of the internet.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? Probably not exactly, but I don't. Yes, really, really early. I could check that on webarchive.org. There's probably a screenshot of that website somewhere still existing. And then I guess I just developed those skills But since I've been doing many things. Maybe we get into some of them later.
Yeah, I love it.
How about you?
So the really honest answer is that my dad lost his job after Germany was reunited,
Mhm.
East and West Germany. And I
Wh-
was
what year was that again? 91, 89? No, that's the Berlin Wall. Sorry, I'm getting confused.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. So no, so the reunion you mean
Yes.
was 89. That's
89,
right.
okay.
Yeah. So the wall was kind of like 89, 90.
Okay.
Like David Hasselhoff came to sing "I've Been Looking for Freedom," and then it all scrambled.
Okay.
That is our story.
Uh.
That's not the real one though. But anyways, so yeah, it took a while, to be honest, because obviously East Germany tried to kind of adapt to West Germany and all the kind of things.
Which side were you from? Your
East.
family? East. Okay.
Yeah, the deepest East.
Right.
We're from the Valley of the Unknown.
Okay.
So we didn't have any radio, newspaper, TV access, even to West German channels. And that was the only place in East Germany that didn't have any access. So I'm from Dresden.
Right.
And that was in a valley indeed, and that's why Valley of the Unknown. And so I was 13. That was about 9 years after the reunion. And my dad lost his job. So basically what happened is that all the big industries and companies would take over the little shops. And so East Germany kind of was a little bit like Thailand, like 5 to 10 years ago. Like we only had little shops. We didn't have any access to imported goods. So I think the most well-known joke is like we didn't have bananas. We did have some, but they were like one banana per family per month, kind of,
That's why you like yellow. You fell in love. Bananas were so impossible to get that when you got one and it was all yellow, you thought, this is it.
This is heaven. Yeah, so I never thought about that part of the story. Thanks. Yeah, there you go. So anyways, so I got into entrepreneurship kind of by starting working when I was 13.
Mm-hmm.
And how it worked was because I was a student, obviously, I couldn't only work when I had school holidays.
Yeah.
And then when I was 15, I got part-time jobs besides school. So they were full-time for me because I worked full-time school and jobs. And so it only worked when I did freelancing jobs. So I would be a makeup artist and a promotion marketing kind of person and a team manager for whoever needed a team manager. And so that's how I started out.
Right. Oh, cool. You know what? I've actually met quite a few people here who are from the former Soviet bloc. Because another friend of mine who's a drummer
Yeah.
and has lived here for years and years, he's from East Germany.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
I know like many people from places like Slovenia and other countries,
Yeah.
like Hungary, various places. Yeah. And
I guess we just needed to run
yeah.
after the wall came down and we were free to go. It's funny because in my family that's not a thing. I mean, my parents grew up like 30 years behind the wall, right? It
Mhm.
was like prison indeed. If you get too close, you've been shot in your face. That's literally what happened.
Right.
And so they never really dared to leave afterwards too. So we would travel within Germany because they were like, finally we can, explore our home country. And we were like getting sick of it, my sister and I. I mean, not really, but like afterwards we were like, are there more countries out there?
Mhm.
Yeah. Can we go there? No. Oh, it's really dangerous. It's really expensive. It's really far away. Like, you get sick from the food. Like all of the things that suddenly would be prejudges.
So like basically from before 1989, people in East Germany would have needed like very special and rare permission maybe to go abroad, and then all of a sudden you're part of United Germany, anybody can get a passport, and then it's freedom to travel if you have money.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, there was no permission to leave East Germany. Like
Right.
not whatsoever.
You had to be like senior government official or something like that.
The SS.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
So in the first 10 years, as I remember more or less correctly, we know that I'm not great with timing from the last from the last episode. I think the first 10 years you were kind of still able to leave, but once you left, you couldn't return.
Okay.
So this was kind of a decision to make, or maybe it was even longer, to be honest, because I remember my parents told me when they were really young and they got together, and they were like 15, 16 both when they got together. So they actually decided they had to make a decision if they wanted to leave or not. So it got really, really tightened up in the last like 10 to 15 years of the whole thing.
Can you here's a question a little bit off topic perhaps, but can you like identify? Do you feel like you can identify people by their character, whether they've come from East or West Germany? There's something like that's still, if they've, especially if they grew up in the time before reunification.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's very. I always get slapped in the face for it, but.
Well, we're only on radio now, so what could go wrong?
Right? I mean, what could go wrong? So, in my experience, in my perception, people from the East are way more grounded. Since there was nothing from America, no influences from the outside, and they had to literally invent everything that was there before already. They had to reinvent it. So we had to, the simplest product, chocolate. We didn't have chocolate suddenly anymore, so we had to reinvent our own chocolate. We put a lot of peanuts in there, by the way. Cars. There were no cars, and suddenly they built a car out of paper carton, the Trabant. And it took 10 years to even order one, and to be, like, you need to apply to get a car, order it, be approved, and it was, like, ridiculous expensive. Like, by the amount of today, if you would, like, convert it with whatever, it would be way more expensive than, like, maybe a Tesla or whatever. It's ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I got you.
And so, yeah, you would be able to feel it, because the way that we think about working, money, and materialistic things, and the way that we like treat friends and family is different from people in the West. Not saying either or is better or worse. I'm saying it's different. You can feel it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like maybe people had to rely? Do you think families were like closer in the East, like behind the curtain? Let's say. Do you feel like families were closer, or not necessarily?
I think they had just a different relationship. So for me, for example, I used to think that my family was really close, and until I was able to look behind the curtain. But the thing is that we all had to stick together. So although we had a lot of issues and we just didn't talk about them, and there was just denial, this rock that we can put everything under and swipe it under. But the thing is that we had to stick together because there was so much bullshit that we had to push through together, and we had to work hard. So if my parents, they went through a time we had no money whatsoever, when my dad lost his job, when my mom, she's partial, how's it called? I know what you're looking for. Goodbye, Lenin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I suddenly just wanted to say there is a great film about someone who wakes up from a coma.
Yeah. It kind of felt like.
And they feel like it's they're quite old, so their kids try and hide the fact that the Soviet Union fallen apart.
It's funny though, because it was a big change as well for everyone, obviously, right? And so you could feel a difference in school, for example, as well. Like my sister started school in the GDR, and she went through most of her primary school in the GDR, and then had to switch into a different school system suddenly, right?
Right.
And that was like, oh, okay. Well.
Different cultural system as well, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very interesting. And I think we were just working a little bit harder maybe, or like we had to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more in our blood.
Right. Well, that's some really cool background on you, and the changes that have happened, in Europe from that period. Should we play a bit of music and then come back and try and focus on our topic.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. So let's see.
What do you got?
What I've got is a couple of new songs just out this Friday by hugely famous artists. So Dua Lipa has a new song, Don't Start Now. And then Ariana Grande has a new song with Shaka Khan
Oh,
called Nobody.
let's bring it on.
Okay, so let's listen to those. And then we'll be back with our topic. So give us a call, send in a request.
But call the right number.
You don't wanna see me. Did a full 180, crazy, thinking about the way I was. Did the heartbreak change me? Maybe, but look at where I ended up. I'm all good already, so moved on. It's scary. I'm not where you left me at all. So if you don't wanna see me dancing with somebody, if you wanna believe that anything could stop me, don't show up, don't come out, don't start caring about me now. Walk away, you know how. Don't start caring about me now. Aren't you the guy who tried to hurt me with the word goodbye? Though it took some time to survive you, I'm better on the other side. I'm all good already, so moved on. It's scary. I'm not where you left me at all. So if you don't wanna see me dancing with somebody, if you wanna believe that anything could stop me, don't show up, don't come out, don't start caring about me now. Walk away, you know how. Don't start caring about me now. Don't stop now. I'm not where you left me at all. So if you don't wanna see me dancing with somebody, if you wanna believe that anything could stop me, don't show up, don't show up, don't come out, don't come out, don't stop caring about me now, walk away, you know how, don't stop caring about me now. Walk away.
Got a job, got a crib, got a mind of my own, honey. But it sure shouldn't mean that you can't take me home, no. Boy, I might be petite, but I'm serving you snacks, yeah. Ooh, got a fever man when I want him so bad, yeah.
You might think I'm moving a little fast, 'cause you don't show only dribble. I might seem intimidating, yeah. Baby, I promise I don't bite, but if I do, you're gonna like it. Gotta like it, like me.
Nobody like nobody.
Gotta put it better down like me.
Nobody like Nobody. Who's gonna put it down like me? Nobody. Nobody. Gonna keep it on your feet. Nobody. Gonna get you man like that. Gonna know you like me. Gonna put it down like me. Gonna keep it on your feet. Gonna get you man like me.
You've been listening to Relax Time Radio on Radio Thailand Chiang Mai.
Watch our live stream on YouTube and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Hey, we're back.
We are.
That was what was that last song? Ariana Grande and Shaka Khan, Nobody, which is apparently on the soundtrack of a new Charlie's Angels film. I didn't know there was a Charlie's Angels film, but there you go.
There
There's another
is?
one. Yep,
Yeah, I don't watch movies, so good to know.
cool. I don't watch many, but I like. I thought that what was it? Parasite, the Korean film that won the Cannes Film Festival. Incredible film, really incredible. And that was on at the cinema.
I would consider that one, like, that are not like so.
Oh, that was a nice sound, actually. Yeah, that was kind of a nice accidental sound there. Okay, so yeah, let's talk then a little bit more about this topic of, well, we're defining it as sort of entrepreneurship and travel, but one thing that came up in my mind was just how many people these days are sort of working freelance or sort of managing their own career independently, you know what I mean, independently of large organizations. And so I just looked up just now how big a thing this is, and it's huge. For example, in the US is in the United States is forecast that by 2020, 50% of the population will be freelancing or working in what they call, the gig economy. I mean, that's, I don't know what the shift is from, but the shift must be just absolutely huge.
I think I read about this, especially also with remote jobs. So it doesn't only have to be freelancing, but it could be also working from home, organizing yourself. And I think it was about 17 to 23%. And I have these numbers in my mind, and I don't know what year, because there we go again. Timing is not my thing. It's funny, though, because I'm a time management person. But don't ask me about years and days. So that's very funny, though. But anyways, so it's a huge leap, right? So it's doubling, at least in the past 5 to 10 years, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. And, I know many people working in this way, and sort of at first I was aware of more people doing it really sort of at the mercy of whatever work that could come along. But then, here's where the sort of idea of entrepreneurship comes in. Now, lately, I meet more and more people managing it really quite well, doing quite successfully, often running multiple projects, but managing it all in a way that allows them to be sort of, financially okay, independent, able to travel, able to live in different places.
I think this notion of time freedom is way bigger now in this space of freelance and remote work and small business owners, rather than having a lot of money as well. So sometimes it's having enough money to travel and to live and to maybe give away some of it, and then but having enough time as well.
Right. And I suppose, well, I read that recently because here's where social impact comes in, or I can bring it in a little bit. Last year there was a lot of campaigning. I was involved in some with musician friends about the air pollution and this kind of thing, which is a global problem. Chiang Mai has its own share of the problem, and there was a politician in Bangkok who was running like as a candidate in one of the parties. I won't bring up his name just in case I'm not allowed to. But I remember that he was a professor at the university, and he sort of analyzed Bangkok, and he was saying that for Bangkok to improve its air quality, more people needed to work from home, or needed to work live very near to where they work.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that sort of technology, working from home, working independently, can help with. Because when you analyze transport systems, if for example poorer people are having to travel these huge journeys
Yeah.
on old transport infrastructure, that creates a lot of pollution,
Yeah, definitely.
this kind of thing. But then again, of course, digital nomads flying around the world, and I guess our plans are also involved in this. Is a lot of air pollution,
Then yes,
CO2 and all this kind of thing.
yes, totally. On the other hand, I sometimes think, if we look at the real big picture now, and then we can, I can just put myself out there and be lynched. But if you look at the real big picture, there are so many things that contribute to it. For example, if you look at all cattle farms out there, right?
Yep.
And I just watched a documentary which is really, really interesting. So the whole cattle farms and all the chicken, all the animal farms that are there for us to produce meat that we eat or don't,
Yep.
because how much actually do we throw away, right? They produce over 15% of the greenhouse gases, thanks,
Mhm.
of the whole world. And they are, I think they said, if you take everything together for cars, any kind of vehicles, planes, ships, for a whole year, that's what they produce per month, I think.
Yeah, right. It's to get a grasp of all of this stuff. Well, is difficult, isn't it? It's complicated, and also, scientists, the scientific community is constantly trying to work out as well. Still,
Yeah.
like for example, there was a story in the papers yesterday. There was a sort of communique from a group that had been trying to analyze the impact of the forest fires around the world, damage to forests,
Yeah.
and they'd suddenly decided that it was a 6 times greater impact on CO2 emissions, or the correlate, which would be like a capacity to absorb CO2.
Right.
So basically, the destruction of forests around the world is obviously it's huge, but it's in terms of numbers, it's much bigger than was previously thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I think
there's
those
all sorts of
numbers
stuff.
change all the time as well, because how are you going to calculate it, right? And what do you take as a KPI to put against and to, right?
Right.
But what I'm saying is also when we say I had this conversation and my friend called it, was it plane shaming or something like that? And I thought it was super funny, because it's true, obviously, going around the world and traveling all the time doesn't help. On the other hand, it also wouldn't help if I, for example, traveling through Thailand, would take the bus and the trains, because they are way more polluting here, for example, than taking one plane, right?
No, not necessarily. Hang on a sec. No, I don't know about that. No, I don't think so.
If you take the local buses and trains here, they don't have any air filters yet. Most of them.
Yeah, I understand, but actually though, when you analyze it, like a train, even if a train is a diesel train and is using a fairly dirty fuel, I think the numbers are pretty clear that planes are much more polluting. It's just planes; they burn so much more fuel to carry so few people.
Right.
Anyway, I'm not. We're getting out of our area of expertise, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's these things that we're all looking into and trying to learn about.
But then how often do you take a plane per year?
Me, not very often.
Yeah.
Not
So
often.
I'm not traveling. I used to take way too many, and now I'm crowning here,
Yeah.
So
Um,
I have a radio show to do every Friday.
here's an
'cause I want
anecdote.
to.
Here's an anecdote. My dad is afraid of flying, and so he doesn't. So he doesn't fly. But he's been out here to visit me, on the train. And he took a boat back. So he's like a green traveler.
He
Just
came
because
from,
of the phobia.
He came from England.
That's right.
Here
Yes.
on a train.
Well, almost all. You can get to the border of Laos all the way by train, and then you have to take a bus.
I'm impressed. How long would that take?
If you rush it, you can do it you get here in 10 days, but he didn't. He took 2.5 weeks, stopping off in various places, and he loved it so much he started planning a much longer trip to do it again with a friend of his.
Dear Paul's dad, taking
Kudos.
my hat off.
Kudos to Paul's
I mean, I
dad.
traveled through all South America, overland, everything, 26,500 kilometers, and a little bit back.
Amazing. I've watched travel documentaries about South America. Apparently it's a great place to travel around by bus. They have really good sleeper buses. No? That's what
I mean,
Chile does apparently.
Yes, very good.
Okay.
Don't try and believe you.
Okay. Fair enough.
You rather walk. I got in so while we are traveling now, so I went into the jungle, right? Jungle means actually Amazonas jungle, like
Yes.
the jungle. I don't know how many
The
jungles do
the
we
junglest jungle that
Yeah.
there is.
So, and I thought like, it can't be that bad. And I do, so I did have a few car accidents in my life, enough to make me aware of when I'm in a car that someone else drives, that I could die, which is not fun. So basically what happened was I booked the bus from La Paz, which is like the capital of Bolivia, into the jungle. And I asked them how long it's going to take. And they said, it depends. And I was like, on what? And they were like, the bus, the weather, and a few other things. I was like, okay, can you give me a time range? And they were like, between 9 and 18 hours. I'm like, right. It took me 26. And one part of the bus ride that I'm so glad I didn't ask before, and I only got to know when I looked outside and I got a heart attack, was part of the death road. And I don't know if you ever heard about it.
No.
Okay. So right now, the death road was one of the most dangerous roads in the world, where on a daily basis people would just drop off because the road is only as wide as a bus, basically.
I have seen a video of this, yeah.
Yeah, and now it's only used for tourists to go down with a bicycle. And only a few locals per day drive the death road because it's just faster still. But they build a highway around it to connect like the villages with La Paz, right? But there is a part of the death road that is still like just as dangerous. And it's not the death road, but it's like just as stupid. And our bus just drove there because that's where the villages are and where you go into the jungle. What I didn't know was, number one, most of the Bolivian drivers are drunk when they have to drive at night. And that doesn't make sense when you have to go on a road that's just as wide as your bus. And number two, there are other buses coming from the other side.
Yeah.
And then they reverse the rules, so we are left driving. That means we were on the outside. And so I was sitting there and I was like, why are we hanging a little bit like this? So we were literally with one wheel, half on the edge of this stupid mountain, which dropped down 850 meters. And I'm like, this is not fun. And I don't drink, I don't take drugs, I don't do anything like this. I'm sober for already 9 years. And I was wishing so hard that I had a bottle of whatever just to knock me out.
Yeah.
This was, I mean, I can't tell you.
It kind of reminds me of, because I've been on scary buses before. And there's a film called Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, is it? Yeah, that might be it. Anyway, the point is it's about this sort of serial killer, and there's this line that stuck in my head. When the serial killer sort of like meets his victim, and this you can see that there's this kind of awareness, but he sort of somehow manages to trap this guy, and he said, that's what happens. People are more afraid of social faux pas
Yeah.
breaking a social convention than they are of getting murdered by a serial killer. And that's kind of the thing, because like sometimes, you're on a bus. You feel, I want to get off, but I'm a little bit embarrassed to get off.
I would have gotten off if I wouldn't have dropped 850 meters down there.
Yeah.
There was no way out
Right.
for way too many hours,
You'd have been walking for days.
I would have gladly done that. But there was literally, like, if
No
I
way
would
out.
have opened that door,
There's only, I see what you're saying. No
You
way
know?
off.
and on the other side there was a wall. So it was just, man, that was like, and I had to go all the way back. Same route. But that was fun.
Yeah. Okay.
What was your first trip?
My first trip, well, it depends. It depends how you define it. I mean, I suppose,
Your first trip alone, without
First-
your parents.
the first trip alone, I kind of, I think maybe it didn't started out with my parents, and then because I was having such a good time, I stayed on. So there was just me. So that was maybe when I was about 15 in France, something like that.
Nice.
I mean, I was staying with friends, but I was kind of working on this construction, and I felt independent. Yeah.
Nice.
And I learned French and went shop. I mean, I learned enough French to go shopping and this kind of stuff. Yeah, that was fun.
How nice.
Yeah. Okay. So should we come back to our rambling conversation after a little bit more music? What do you think?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. I've just realized that I'm about to play another song that we did also play last week, but it was right at the end of the show and it got cut off, so I feel legitimately allowed to do it.
Totally. And no one remembers.
Oh, well, okay. I've given it away. Okay, so here's Alone and Unafraid by Elisa. It's got a really cool video. So,
nice. I'll watch it.
So for requests or questions, please call 053-276-793, or maybe easier, send in a message to Relax Time Radio's Facebook page, or to the YouTube live stream, which is on there now. Okay, here we go. Elisa, Alone and Unafraid.
People always say that nothing ever changes, but I don't agree. 'Cause something's changed in me. Fuck pendants, 'cause I don't want to lean on no one. I just wanna know when I call you, you'll be there. I found my rhythm. Not in this life to be a wife. I make my own little religion. I know I belong to no one. I'm on the solo one. So when you do come over, I have something to show you. Alone and unafraid in the places we joy. What's life if it isn't kisses? Kisses in the nighttime, moving me like liquid. I just wanna live alone and unafraid in the places we joy. I was living for an old idea. Secure Know you're wrong, but show you right. Home alone for the night. I can turn you on with my dirty mind. Say I won't, worth a try. Puppy love, butterflies, made you blush, made me smile. What you want, baby, you decide. Why we grown, wasting time. You're beautiful, babe. You're really something. Styling, I gotta say. T-shirt, designer jeans. You got me open, filled with emotion. Living in ecstasy. Just want you next to me. I'll bring the champagne. Don't turn me down, babe. We can play Simon Says. We'll watch TV in bed. Wake with the sunrise. Sleeping is alright. Ain't even gotta sex. But I know what you like, baby. Come over. You're wasting your time, baby. If you just let me come over, babe. If you just let me come over, babe. Know you're wrong, but show you right. Home alone for the night. I can turn you on with my dirty mind. Say I won't, worth a try. Hey, puppy love, butterflies, made you blush, made me smile. What you want, baby, you decide. Why we grown, wasting time, Steve. Trying to tell a lie.
Garshawn, turn that stupid ass shit down. You see Coalition up there trying to goddamn meditate. You playing these piercing ass solos and shit, fucking up the whole vibrations.
If you just let me come over, babe. If you just let me come over, babe. Know you're wrong, but show you right. Home alone for the night.
You've been listening to Relax Time Radio on Radio Thailand Chiang Mai.
Watch our live stream on YouTube and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Hey, we're back. That was the internet with Come Over. Before that, Eliza, Alone and Unafraid. What do you think of those songs?
I love them,
They were pretty cool.
especially because they have a lot of yellow.
Right. Really, yeah, the colourful video there if you want to
Yeah.
check that one out, that last one, The Internet Come
Mhm.
Over. I've noticed a lot of people doing videos with like these sheets of colour and like it seems like a really simple way to create an effective video for YouTube.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
totally.
Okay, so I'm going to try and give our conversation a little bit of structure for this first segment. How about that?
Oh, please
A novel
go
approach.
ahead.
A novel approach. Okay, so I was just looking at some statistics about people in the gig economy or freelancers, and some of the things are surprising. Like, for example, a lot of people who are working in the gig economy, it gets a lot of criticism around the world by politicians, and often justifiably so, because they would seem like less protections. But many people working in the gig economy say, when they're asked, that they feel more secure than working in a traditional than they would if they were working in a traditional job.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to the question, what do freelancers or people, say entrepreneurs are running their own business, whether they're like digital nomads or whatever kind of business they're doing, what skills do they need to survive and thrive, do you think?
Very good one. Okay, so first of all, and that's not only because I'm coming from this place, but they do need a lot of time management. If you don't know how to manage your time, how to be focused, how to not get lost in procrastination, because there's so many other things to do that are way more interesting than your work, then you totally will get lost. You will not be able to deliver on time. Your clients will be really frustrated with you. So time management for sure. The second thing is you want to know how to, and I think that is for everyone, but how to maintain a very healthy routine. And with healthy, I don't necessarily mean fitness only, but it's like everything about sleep, nutrition, mental health as well. I do think that a lot of people who become digital nomads in the first place, they kind of slip into a routine that is pretty unhealthy because they don't sleep a lot, or they sleep in very different phases because they travel in different time zones, whatever.
Right.
So that can hurt a lot. And then really, like, I think it's more about soft skills such as communication, being able to adapt into different cultures, and being able to take the ego out of the equation when you start working with other people, and not trying to take everything personal, because it's not about you, it's about what you produce, and you want what you produce, the work that you do, to be the best for your client.
Yep.
So it's not about you. And if you get feedback, you shouldn't take it personal, for example. So it's like really soft skills, because everything else, as you did in 1990, really early, you just learn skills, whether it's web design or whatever, right?
Right. I suppose on that side of things, the actual technical skills or the operational skills, I suppose the one thing that I would add to that is, which like a friend of mine, because I've been thinking about it and also like doing it, lately, especially trying to spend a good portion of my time learning new stuff as opposed to just doing what I know.
Yeah.
Like a friend of mine was talking about a Singaporean man that we both know, and he'd said that the Chinese attitude towards this was that you learn in the morning and apply what you've learned in the afternoon. So, and I was kind of thinking, you know, there's this, set aside some hours of the day for like learning, thinking about strategizing, and then time for doing. And that's, that's interesting approach. There's another view on this, which like my father's always said as an entrepreneur, which is that you know, you delegate what you don't know how to do yourself.
Yeah.
So that the art of delegation, and
Right.
that's changed in the sort of freelancer, nomadic, or sort of independent. I'm not sure. I'm looking for the right terminology to use here. World of work, because instead of being in an office with other people, you're often dealing with people on websites like Upwork, etc. So you're sort of managing people remotely.
Yeah.
So you can still delegate. It's just that the delegation, the technical way of delegation is changed.
Yeah. And I feel like in entrepreneurship, there is a new thing which is that everyone believes, and maybe everyone is too much, but like a lot of people believe that they have to know everything by themselves and they have to do everything by themselves, which can be really damaging as well. It's kind of like a badge of honor that they, carry. Like, I can do everything by myself. I work all through the night. And I'm like, how can you be proud of that? Not having a life and working all day and night long, looking like you're 75 when you're 27. That's not nice,
Yeah. Some things that popped up in my mind as you were talking about, as you sort of went through your points there, like on sleep. Just as I sleep on very unusual hours, but I still feel like I get good sleep. So, and there are actually a percentage of people. Me and DJ Nam on Sunday, we've looked into sleep a couple of times on topics, looked into the research, and there are actually some people that make good night owls. Some people, there are some people that can work through the night and still be healthy, this kind of thing. But for most people, generally, it seems better if they respect the biorhythms of the earth, as you would expect.
Right. So I do study sleep because of my work, right? So I study sleep, neuroscience, human behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what is a little bit wrong with that. People can be night owls. It's right. But you do need to catch a very certain amount of sleep in the darkest darkness of the night.
However, I use a very thick eye mask. So I'm always, even in the middle of the day, I always feel like I'm sleeping in the dark.
Right. But that doesn't matter because your body knows it's not dark outside.
I see.
So what they say is you should be catching at least 1.5 to 2 hours somewhere in between midnight and 4 a.m.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll accept. That's acceptable to me.
Right. So if you can get like at least, usually like the better option would be obviously to go to bed before midnight and catch the whole 4 hours. But I totally get this is not for everyone, and there are people like you who go way later and they want to it's just a biorhythm thing as well.
Yeah.
So if you go to bed like maybe at, I think the latest would be 2:30 a.m. that you want to go to get at least the 1.5 hours of darkest darkness for your body to know, oh, okay.
I got you.
Yeah.
One other thing that came up is, and I keep bringing it up because I feel it's like super important, and I grew up in the countryside, and it's definitely really important to me. But research shows that it's really important to everybody, and that's a connection with nature. A lot of people, psychologists, have started analyzing children as sort of lacking a connection with nature. If they've grown up in the city, and there's so much research on this. One amazing piece of research has shown that people in hospital recover faster and better if they have a view of trees outside of the window than if they have just a view of a wall somewhere or something.
Isn't that crazy?
I know.
And also I think it's really important if you walk barefoot on dirt. Any kind of grass, dirt. Sand is also great, but if you walk on like asphalt, it doesn't ground anymore.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, and I suspect that I might annoy some people in the yoga community by saying this, but I once met a wandering yogi from India, and he was giving yoga lessons, etc. But he told me that yoga is not yoga unless it's performed on bare ground. He said there should be no yoga mats. He said there should be no air conditioning when you're doing yoga. He said, and there should be no yoga mats. You should be on the earth or the ground or the grass.
Right.
That's what he told me.
You know what's even more interesting, and I gonna piss a lot of yoga people off.
What?
What everyone's doing with this yoga these days in the studios, whatever, is not yoga. Yoga is actually a lifestyle that has a lot to do with the mind,
Right. It's
the nutrition.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, mantra yoga. It's a philosophy. It's a spiritual practice. It's a meditative practice. It's many things. I can't claim to be.
And I honestly haven't met, I think, more than one person who actually should be able to proudly call themselves a yogi.
However, that doesn't necessarily mean that people who are doing the sort of more physical yoga on mats are doing themselves no good. It might be really good exercise.
100%.
It's not being a yogi, but it's
100%.
It may be very good for
Yes.
your health and body and
100%.
mental health and many
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just can't necessarily call yourself a yogi. Okay.
I mean, you can if you want to, but if it's the right choice, who knows?
Okay. What else did? This is an interesting one because people have said that to me so many times. People from many generations, and it still comes up. Which is, and this is something like I perhaps struggle with, because you mentioned, time management and the ability to focus. Many people have said that you should find a place of work, and that place of work should be a place of work. So in other words, don't work in your living room or your kitchen. You have to have a place of you have to feel like you've gone somewhere and are at a place of work now.
Yeah.
And the inverse is true for sleep. So sleep therapists, for people who have who can't sleep properly, can't get enough sleep, they have why have I lost the word? What's the word for people who can't sleep?
Insomnia?
Insomnia. They're told to take everything out of the bedroom, take the TV out, take their phone out, take anything distracting out. And as someone who lives in sort of a one-room apartment, I guess sometimes I can focus, if I can't, then it's time to go to a cafe or some co-working space or somewhere, because it definitely can be hard to focus.
Right.
At home.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a big one, but I think it doesn't really depend where you are, but how you are going to set yourself up for the work. And that means that you can train your brain into different states of your mind. So for example, what I'm talking about is kind of like little routines and rituals that you put in place, and you train your brain, and every time you do this ritual, you trigger your brain to be like, oh, working time, great. And then you get into focus. Or, sleeping time, oh, no way. Oh, I'm getting tired. And you just sleep away.
Yeah.
Or in the morning as well, to get yourself to be more energized and do a routine for that, right? And so there are very different ways of how you stack routines together and do these rituals in order to get into these states.
Right.
And then it doesn't matter where you are, really.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, definitely. This is it seems off point, but actually it's not in my mind, at least. When I had dogs and when I lived in a house, I've had dogs many times. I love dogs, and it used to interest me so much. Their little routines. For example, they have a certain way that they like to go out of a house, or a certain route that they take. And if you try and force them, like on a chain, to go another route, they hate it. And so I saw a video on YouTube of someone that was trying to stop their dog going into the kitchen, and they just put it wasn't a barrier at all. It was just a post across the doorway, but the dog didn't like it because it was sort of blocking the particular place it normally went across the threshold of this doorway, and the dog wouldn't go in the kitchen. But yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I often find, if you get into a routine of just a certain set of steps that normally lead you up to work, then that will lead you into work, right?
I'll give you a secret of mine, and it will work really, really well with you. Music.
Music.
Use music as a trigger. So if you choose different songs that put you in a different state of mind every time, so use one for the morning, one for the evening, and one for like the work thing, right? A
Yep.
very specific one. So the ba boop booby doo
Yeah.
could be your
Right.
work song, right? Because it
Yeah.
gets you in a really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Let's go.
That's a great one, and I have used that. I have used that before, and I remember because when I was young, Van Morrison was one of my favorite artists, and he talked about this. He basically just said everybody should listen to James Brown in the morning.
Yeah.
Get on up.
Yeah.
Because he has all of these. I mean, he was a work ethic person,
Mhm.
and he has all these songs which are really sort of like get up,
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's the reason why it works is our neural pathways in the brain usually take a long time of repetition and doing the same things over and over again until they finally build and know, oh, this is how it works, okay. And so if you use music, it accelerates this whole thing, and you build an emotional connection with this song or whatever you use, basically, melody, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, that's why it works really well with music.
I'll have to rethink on that because I'm definitely prone to procrastinating. I have a penchant for procrastination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can use procrastination for your work.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
How?
So basically, if you schedule procrastination in your day, so let's say you want to work on a specific project and you have this issue with procrastination, you can schedule twice half an hour a day, and then you procrastinate on everything that comes to your mind. But before that, whenever you think, oh, this is what I want to check out, this is what I want to research, oh, I should read this article, you need to write it down on a list. And the writing it down gets it out of your brain. Because once you write it down, your brain knows, okay, it's somewhere, I don't have to think about it anymore. So
Yep.
it's a physical reinforcement.
I got you.
And then when you do have your half an hour scheduled, you go and do all of these things, and then you set a timer for half an hour. When the timer is up, you go back to work and you do your ritual again with your song to get back into your work state.
We should because we're sort of introducing our topic today. We should break off
We
some of
try.
these
Yeah,
and do them as like single
Totally,
themes for sure.
totally.
I mean, that was a great one. Procrastination,
yeah,
sleep, time management. We could do whole shows
yeah,
on any of
totally.
these.
Let's do this.
Yeah, definitely. One thing here, another one that we could do, like perhaps like more thoroughly, was this is an idea I got from like one of the books I had translated, like from Joan Jundai, who's the founder of Pan Pan Organic Farm, and
Oh, nice.
so he like introduced me to this idea of what you depend on in life. So like for example, if you think of yourself as dependent on money, then when you don't have money, you're suddenly at a loss. And his transition was from feeling that he was dependent on money to becoming dependent on the earth. So he could grow his own food, get everything he needed from his work with the land. He could make his own house from mud bricks from the land and this kind of thing. So he totally switched his life from having been dependent on money to being dependent on Mother Earth, as he puts it.
I love it.
And I thought, you can actually look at your own life, whether you're a musician or whatever you are, you can think about your life in this way. For example, as a freelancer, instead of thinking that you're dependent on money and how much money, you can be dependent on the skills you have and the skills that you can work with. And it makes a big difference, that approach, psychologically, because you think, okay, things might not be great financially right now, but actually I know that with this set of skills I can, they're needed. These are skills that people need, and
Yeah.
it makes a psychological difference.
I love this idea, yeah. Funny enough, I never felt like I'm dependent on money. I think I was always dependent on my perseverance and grit to get through other things.
Yeah.
So there was no place to be dependent on money.
All right. Well, we perhaps have talked enough for today. It's getting towards the last 10 minutes of the show. Thank you all so much for listening. Sorry we didn't play more music and just talk, but we hope that you like our, podcasty type approach to the show. If you don't, please send in the feedback. You want more music, or do you like me and Mon talking about things? We're definitely not going to stop talking.
No,
We might just make a small adjustment one way or the other.
I like it for sure.
Yeah, I like it too. So, but we will. Should we say goodbye?
Yeah, and play some more music.
Okay. So thank you so much. Check in with us every Friday for our thoughts on. We will be doing topics related to work and travel, social impact. We've mentioned a few of the ones that we might cover in the future. There are so many that we can and will do. Right now, though, I think we just will say good night. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the night.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in. Relax Time Radio. Tom will be here tomorrow. I'll be back with DJ Nam on Sunday for the Jazz and Blues show. And Relax Time Radio is every night of the week, 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the Facebook page. Okay.
And come back.
So this is something a little bit chill out, mellow for the end of the show. Jim E. Stack with Good Enough.
If you try to lie, then do it on me. Want all of your bad on me. Don't know I need your energy. I just need something bad for me. All your good is good enough. All your good is good enough. Yeah. Too much good is enough. For me, for me, for me, for me. Too much good is enough. Too much good is too much good is enough. If you tryna lie, then do it on me. Want all of your bad on me. Don't know I need your energy. I just need something bad for me. All your good is good enough. All your good is good enough. Yeah. Too much good is enough. For me, for me, for me, for me. Too much good is enough. Too much good is enough. All your good is enough. Too much good is enough. All your good is enough. Too much good is enough. Uneventful days, uneventful nights. Living in the dark, waiting for the light. Caught up in these never-ending battle lines. Everything has changed, and nothing it feels right. No, 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 I know. No, I know it's gone. No, no, I know. can't get right. Name it definitely more to me than life. You might know my name, you don't know my mind. I don't even know what days without you. Only 10 minutes ago, leave me cold. I don't even know you now. Anything that moves from my way without you. No, I don't wanna let you. No, I don't wanna gonna leave me alone. Uneventful days, uneventful nights. Living in the dark, waiting for the light. Nothing you could take and make it come to life. I don't ever wait and make you change your mind. No, I know, I know, I know, I know it's gone. I know it's gone. Yeah. Never-ending days, never-ending nights. Time is moving slow, I don't even mind. Name it definitely more to me than life. Got nowhere to go, got nowhere to fight. Haven't said a word now. Money getting in now, me now. Had another round of three now. Nothing but a low down, let down. Better not get down, let down. What am I really down for the mile? Been in and out of love all night. Never-ending days, never-ending nights. Everything I do, you know I don't do right. I've been waiting around all night. Yo, yo, yo. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I want you to want me, but you just wanna love me for the day, and I can't just walk away, even though I know you're trouble, babe. So I will take my time, going slow, can't get too involved. You got a face that I just can't say no to. Just can't say no to you. You know I want you, baby. You know I do. I'll give you my heart and the rest is up to you. You ain't no good for me. I know it's true, but you don't have to pay. 'Cause I do it for the thrill, for the rush. I do it for the pain, for your touch. Well, I only when it's too much. If I survive, maybe you're the one. You're the one. I feel like I'm walking the tightrope of love in your circus, babe. If I were to fall, it'd be my last day, even though you're right under me. So I'ma take my time, go with the flow, can't get too involved. You got a face that I just can't say no to, just can't say no to you. You know I want you, baby, you know I do. I'll give you my heart and the rest is up to you. You ain't no good for me. control. But you don't have to pay, 'cause I do it for the thrill, for the rush. I do it for the pain, for your touch. Well, I won't need when it's too much. If it's up,
You've been listening to Relax Time Radio on Radio Thailand Chiang Mai.
Watch our live stream on YouTube and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
สถานีวิทยุกระจายเสียงแห่งประเทศไทยและเครือข่ายทั่วประเทศเสนอข่าวต้นชั่วโมงรู้เร็วรู้จริงเกาะติดทุกสถานการณ์